Hey guys, welcome back to a page in a chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and today we are talking about Romantasy. So I cannot be the only one who finds it really difficult and really overwhelming to explore a new genre, and I am loving that Romantasy is really becoming recognised as its own genre now and really getting its time in the spotlight, and I really want to almost rediscover this genre. I've talked about this before, but for a while I was either only reading fantasy or only reading romance, and I didn't allow myself any room to be anything other than a fantasy reader or a romance reader. And now I'm really excited to explore standard fantasy again, but I'm also really interested in getting to explore Romantasy and read Romantasy and kind of bring my two interests together, and I genuinely think it could be my new favorite genre. And so I just wanted to share how I'm finding recommendations and books that I'm really excited to read in the genre that I think will be a good starting point. I do have a little bit of experience with Romantasy, as we can see, but there's a lot of books out there and I still feel overwhelmed by where to start or where to go next or how to really explore this genre. So I just wanted to share the books that I am excited to read and why I think they'll be a good fit for me as someone who is exploring, and hopefully that will help you guys out if you are also wanting to explore this genre. So if you guys like the sound of this video and you would like to stick around and see more from me, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future content. I upload every single Wednesday and every single Sunday, so there is really no shortage. Also, do please feel free to check me out on Bookstagram/Instagram at Page in Chapter. I'm having so much fun posting over on there, so it might be worth checking me out on there for more content, more book recs, more what I'm reading in real time, etc, etc. You know the deal by now. Anyway, because I feel like I might be able to ramble for a little while in this video, let's just get on into how the hell I'm starting to explore a new genre. So before I get on into the books, my locations that I find Romantasy books are TikTok is going to be an absolutely incredible resource for this, and Bookstagram, because I'm on Bookstagram, so it makes sense for me to go there to look for them. I search a lot of tags, I search a lot of content creators that read a lot of Romantasy, and I kind of just fill my feed with as much of that new genre as I can, so that I don't even have to try further down the line. I'll just open up my app and boom, there will be some more recommendations that I'm interested in this new genre. Kind of just go from there really. This is how I really broadened my horizons with romance when I was first getting started with romance. I just found as many creators as I could that read romance and spoke about romance online, and I followed them and I got all of their recs, and the more you follow, the easier it is to find more. The more you read, the easier it is to find more, and it just snowballs from there. And now I would say that I am becoming a little bit of an expert on romance. I have read a lot of romance books. So do not underestimate the power of searching for things and following creators, and yeah, it's going to really help you out further down the line as well, because it just means that you don't always have to be actively searching for recommendations. These recommendations will then find you. But I know we are all here for the books, so let's talk about them. A lot of these books on this list I have not read. Some of them I have and genuinely want to talk about because I think they are good starting points if you're wanting to discover Romantasy, but I haven't read enough Romantasy to do a whole video on these. It'd be great for you guys to start exploring it, but since I am in the process of exploring a new genre, I feel like I can offer some valuable information, some valuable insight into, okay, here are the books that I have found that I am excited to try out and why, and hopefully this will be a fun little beginner's guide. So I have to talk about this. This will be the first one that anybody tells you about when you look up Romantasy recs, and I will be no different. I actually read this series a couple years ago, but I didn't love it as much because there was too much fantasy in it for me and I got really bored by the world building and everything like that. But now, coming back, I am in the process of rereading this series and going further than I did last time and kind of re-exploring that, and I do think it is a great entry point for Romantasy readers, and that is the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer Armentrout. This series gets a lot of hate and I don't really understand why. I think this is a fantastic Romantasy series. We follow Poppy as she is deemed the maiden by the society that she lives in, which means that she can have essentially no human contact. She has to remain as pure and untouched as possible so that when she undergoes this ascension, she will save her kingdom. But then after an attempt is made on her life, she gets a new guard, which is our Lord and Saviour Hawk, and we see these two as they interact with each other. They have a lot of good banter. We see Poppy as she becomes tempted for kind of the first time in her life and really wants to explore and confront the fact that she might not be cut out to be the maiden anymore. And we do all of this whilst exploring a really new, really unique take on a lot of old and overdone like paranormal creatures, mythical creatures that we've seen a lot of times, and I think this is a really good series to start with. It is so engaging. Each book has something very unique that happens that brings you right back into the next one, and I think Jennifer Armentrout does a really good job of keeping the tension in this relationship. Sometimes I find that I get really bored with sequel books in Romantasy series because the tension between our love interest has been broken in the first book, and then it's just a slog of world building and character growth and things like that. And I think Jennifer Armentrout does a really good job of keeping tension in this relationship and making it really interesting for the reader, considering it's a 6-book series that could get boring. So originally I only read the first two, and it wasn't that I didn't enjoy the second one. I enjoyed the second one less and then just never really got around to purchasing the third book, and then it reached a point where it had been years and I still hadn't picked it up. So in my new rediscovery of this genre, I have been working my way through these books. I have been enjoying them so much more the second time round. I gave this one 4 stars, I gave the second book 4 stars, I recently gave the third book 5 stars, and I'm very excited to see where the rest of this series goes. I think a lot of people start with the ACOTAR series, which it's a good beginner story, but I'm not going to stand here and recommend that to you because I personally am not a huge fan of that series. I find it very meh, so it would be a bit disingenuous for me to be like, yeah, ACOTAR, such a good Romantasy book, you should read it. But I think this has a lot of elements. If you did like the ACOTAR series, I would argue that this is spicier, maybe a little bit darker, but it still has this kind of 2 worlds, like rival kingdoms. We have Poppy and Hawk caught in the middle of this, and Poppy being forced to confront a lot of things about her life originally that maybe she wouldn't have wanted to confront without Hawk there to drive the story forward. And so really love this series. Don't hate me if you hate it, because for some reason people do. I don't get it. I can't see the hate for this series because I think it's so fun, so good, so spicy. I think Poppy and Hawk have such a good relationship. I think the banter between them is just so good. It has me grinning from ear to ear every time I pick up this book, and I highly recommend it. The next Romantasy book that I have picked up recently, it is a series that I have not finished yet, but I think is a fun one for exploring what you might like in Romantasy, is The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. This is like a pirate Romantasy kind of series. We follow our main characters, Eric and Livia, and we see them in the prologue as Eric has been captured by Livia's parents' kingdom. She is an heir to the throne of her kingdom. It's set in a Fae realm, and so we watch them as children as Livia kind of, even though she knows she shouldn't and Eric is a captive, she tries to befriend him, she tries to be nice to him. And then we cut forward to the present day where Livia accidentally frees Eric, and Eric then takes it upon himself to capture Livia and bring Livia back to his sea Fae realm or ocean Fae realm and kind of keep her as a captive so that he has leverage over her family, who are the ones that kept him like captive himself. I think this is a fun one for exploring some Fae a bit more. This one has a lot of darker themes in it. Do check the trigger warnings for this. They are right at the front of the book, which is very helpful. We love when books do that. But this one is also fun because it feels a little bit like a weird kind of Little Mermaid kind of retelling. I mean, maybe I'm just getting that because the main character is called Eric, but it feels a little bit like that, so it could give you an idea of if you would be interested in a spicy fairy tale retelling. But this has deceptions, it has a kind of, I don't want to say slow burn because you're going to be disappointed if I say that it is slow burn, but these characters do have a lot to overcome and work through together, and it takes them an appropriate amount of time to do that, which I think is really important in a romantasy, especially a darker one like this where the characters kind of do quite heinous things to each other. It's going to take a little while to get over that, and I think this book has really good pacing. I think it's really engaging, a really good introduction to different types of fae and seeing how they could interact with each other, which is often quite prominent in fantasy works and fantasy romance works these days. It is the Mass Effect, and I just thought this was a fun one. I gave it 4 stars. Why not try it out? The next series slash book that I really want to get to and I'm interested in reading to explore the romantasy genre is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. I know this is a very beloved series. I'm currently reading A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. I haven't finished it, so I don't know if I can recommend it, but I'm really enjoying it so far, so you know, maybe consider that one too. But I think The Bridge Kingdom is viewed more as an entry point to Danielle Jensen, and it has some tropes that I really love and I think are really fun to explore in fantasy romance, and so I want to talk about this. So this series follows our main character, and she is like a royal high up person of society, and this kingdom has a rival slash enemy kingdom that they are dealing with, and so our main character goes to this rival kingdom under the guise of being like a bride, bringing peace to the kingdoms, but actually she's there to try and bring down this kingdom like from the inside kind of thing. It sounds like a really fun series. I've seen a lot of good reviews. I love any kind of fake marriage kind of situation, and I think this is why this one is kind of on the list. I think this is a really good opportunity to see how much further you can take tropes in a fantasy setting, because you're not really confined to the rules of everyday society. And so I think it would be a really good opportunity to see if you like this trope, if you like how far things can go in fantasy series. It's a good opportunity to explore like a marriage of convenience, and just in general how unhinged fantasy romance slash romantasy can be. And it's my favorite part of romantasy, is getting to really see these tropes in depth and be a little bit unhinged, but it might not be for everybody, and I think this is a really good opportunity to see if you like that or how you find it. Kind of go from there. You'll find a lot of romantasy books that don't have unhinged tropes, but it's good to know what you like and what you don't like from a romantasy so that you can start searching for the things that you do like. The next book that I am very excited to get to and think will be a great way to dive into the romantasy series is Serpent of the Wings of Night. Now this one is fun because it contains a mythical creature of vampires, which vampires are used a lot in romantasy, but I would especially say that lately they have been used in very unique ways. There's been a lot of really interesting takes on vampire folklore. There's been a lot of vampires used but good. I think after Twilight it went a little bit crazy on the vampires, and we've had like a lot of really bad vampire stories. And lately it feels like a lot of time and a lot of thought has really gone into why vampires have been chosen for a particular story, which has allowed books to actually be good and contain this mythical creature, because vampires are not just being thrown in because of Twilight hype, vampire fever, vampire mania, I don't know. It's a thing. But this one is also fun because this is kind of a Hunger Games-esque book where we follow our main character, and she is in a very unstable position in this vampire society. She is the adopted daughter of a vampire, I think, and so she is human. She is not in a great position, but there is a battle to the death kind of held by the goddess of death. And so this will be a really fun one because tournaments to the death are kind of popular. They have their own moment, they're their own trope and own style of book, but I think it's really interesting to see this in a romantasy setting and see how allegiances form and how that allegiance can then lead to a romance, and if it's believable that that leads to a romance, plus also how do the vampires feed into this. I think as a newbie, I know that I loved the Hunger Games growing up, and so I think this would be really fun to kind of see an adult version of this, but with less of the critique on society maybe, and just more romance. And so that's why this one is on the list. I think it's a really fun one to try out, and I've heard really good things about this series. It's kind of one that I think a lot of people recommend for people exploring the romantasy genre, and I'm really excited to finally get my hands on a copy of this book and read it. The next series that I am going to recommend I have actually read, and that is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Now, caveat on this one, this is not the best book in the world. I kind of enjoyed it in a trashy way. Like, this book is kind of a shit show from start to finish, but that makes it fun in the way that watching like reality TV is fun. But I think this is a good one for you to see if you really like seeing romantasy in a more urban setting, or if you are going to enjoy like mythology and really smutty mythology retellings. Now, this book is more smut than plot. The series does gain a little bit of plot throughout the story. I critique the second book in this series a lot because it backtracks majorly so that it can actually build the world and kind of create the foundation for the rest of the series. It feels like this book was written and then it was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a series. I have a lot of work to do now. Regardless, this is a really easy read. It may not be the best book you've ever read, but it's very easy. It's very engaging, very smutty, so you can see what kind of smut level you like, what kind of spice level you like. It also, again, like, it takes place in a world that looks very similar to ours. We have the gods and they exist basically as celebrities in this world, and this is a Hades and Persephone retelling. Hades owns a club and is just knocking about around your everyday American town where he owns this club, and we follow Persephone as she accidentally gets kind of embroiled in one of Hades' deals, one of Hades' schemes, and is then forced to interact with him a lot more and is kind of stuck with him basically. So yeah, this one is just good old-fashioned romantasy trashiness, but maybe you will really like that in a romantasy. I don't think all books have to be like the best books ever. Sometimes reading can just be for fun, even if that is like, okay, I probably shouldn't be enjoying this, but I am kind of fun. And that was this book for me, and I think it's worth checking out because it can definitely give you like a solid basis to know where to go from here, because a lot of authors have done smutty retellings of Greek gods and Greek myths and other types of myths, and there's a lot of kind of urban fantasy romances out there, so a really good place to start because this one is so easy and doesn't really require any brain power or thought to go into it. So you can speed read this one, see if you like the tropes, see if you like the direction that it's going, and then go from there. So please don't come for me if you think this book is like the worst thing in the entire world. I am aware that it's maybe not the highest grade of literature, but sometimes I need to read trashy stuff to make it through my life, okay? And then the final series that I am really excited to get to, that is on my radar, that I think will be a very interesting way to explore more fantasy romance, is the Fortuna Sworn series. This is quite a long series, so again, kind of interesting to see if you like the pacing of a really long series. But we follow our main character Fortuna, and she is the last of her kind of creatures. It's unclear from the blurb what kind of creature she is, but she is the last of her kind, and she lives a very peaceful existence, just living among humans. But then when a fairy finds her and desires her, he offers her something that she can't turn down, and then she is kind of brought back into this world of mythical creatures and intrigue as she is interacting with this fairy. The blurb really doesn't give much away of this book, but I don't think that's a bad thing. This book does have some trigger warnings, so do look those up before you go into this series. But I think it will be a really good one to know if you like a longer form romantasy series or a longer form fantasy series in general. Again, this one plays on the theme of fairies, but it sounds like it's going to involve a whole host of mythical creatures and a whole like mythical world. And because I haven't read this one, I really can't tell you much of why I think this would be a good entry point, but I just know that I am a beginner romantasy reader and this is on my radar and I want to read this one. Maybe I will be horrendously wrong, but I figured since it's on my radar and I really want to get to it sometime soon, that it's probably worth sharing. And so that is my list of romantasy books that I am hoping to get to in the near future to explore the romantasy genre a little bit more, see what I like and don't like in the romantasy genre. Obviously some of these I have read before, but I need to continue with the rest of the series, and hopefully you found something in this list that you are interested in reading, that you've had and you think, yeah, that's a good idea to start there, that makes sense. Essentially this is just a recommendations video, but I wanted to make it more of a beginner friendly vibe because I have gone back and forth between genres many a time, so I know how hard it can be to really feel like you are finding the recommendations you want or finding books in the genre that you want to read that sound good to you, and hopefully I have made that journey just the tiniest bit easier for you. So if you guys liked this video and you would like to see more from me, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below. Stay tuned for future content. I upload every single Wednesday and every single Sunday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you to enjoy. Also do please feel free to check me out on Instagram at page in chapter because I post there a lot, and why not? I feel like if I am reading romantasy then I will post about it on there, so you might get some more recommendations outside of this video over there. Also it might just be a good idea because then you'll get even more recommendations of romantasy or romance readers to follow, and you'll just be in the romantasy world of Instagram and be getting all those good recs. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, you're enjoying everything you are reading, and there are no reading slumps in your future, and I will see you for my next video. Bye guys.